Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Green Spirit, and today I wanted to catch up on the YouTube Pagan challenge. It's been about a month since I posted, I believe it was question 13 and 14, but I know that I'm falling a little bit behind, so I wanted to take the time today to go ahead and do some of these questions. I will be answering questions 14 through 17 of the 2017 challenge, and then I will answer questions 9 and 10 of the 2016 challenge. So I have them written down this time. I'm not looking at them from the computer. So if I look down, it's because I have the question written down. The first question of the challenge is, do you use, would you try any psychoactive drugs, hallucinogens, etc. for spiritual purposes? I guess I would never say never. It's not something that I normally incorporate as part of my practice. Do I think they're necessary? Probably not. I think it just depends on the person. For myself, I don't feel like I need uh, hallucinogenic drugs to reach spirit. But if I were doing something like shamanistic, um, where I'm doing like a spiritual journeying, in like a severely trance-like state, I might consider it. I won't say that I would never do it, because who knows, if an opportunity presented itself, I might decide to do it. But as of right now, I don't use any kind of hallucinogenic drug for my contact with spirit. I feel like they're always listening anyway, so I guess it's more for kind of looking within. So, like I said, never say never, but not right now. Next question, question number 15. Do you have a code of ethics? Yes. Um, I don't know if I consider myself fully Wiccan. I know that I started my path on the Wiccan path, but I've been practicing since I was 12, and as of a couple days ago, I am now 31 years old. I know that I take on some of the, um, this is my kitty. Hi, kitty. um, like I do follow the read of Ye Harm None, um, but at the same time, my code of ethics is basically do unto others, so maybe it is kind of like the read. I feel like whatever I set forth um, does reflect what I receive back. Whether I receive it 3 times back, that's something that's kind of murky to me. I don't know. Uh, I know that I don't know if you receive it in equal measure. I also think about when you do something negative, and I think of karma. I think that I think karma would be more just if whatever you set forth in this life would affect you in your current life, not in any continuing life, because I feel like we should get a fresh start. But as far as my code of ethics, it's basically try not to do any harm. It's impossible to 100% not cause harm to something or someone, but try to live as honestly, as um, truthfully to yourself and to others. Live with a sense of compassion and understanding. And if those people who decide to, try to do negative things to you, don't essentially fall to their level. Always rise above. But as far as me doing anything negative, I try very hard to be more high vibrational than low vibrational. I hope I explained that well. Ethics is kind of a murky subject, and I think overall I feel like I'm a good person and I try to be a good person. I try to be an example to others. And in fact, every day when I say when I have my conversation with divinity every morning, one of the things that I always ask for is to I say, Lord and Lady, angels, guides, spirit guides, animal guides, everyone else who watches over me, help me to live a better life, to be an example to others, and help me to be the best that I can be. So that's pretty much it. What Question 16? What other religions influence or appeal to you? I well, Buddhism is one that I really I'm attracted to. Um, just for this, just because I feel like it's very similar to paganism in general. A reverence for nature, for seeking within, for rising above, for trying to reach enlightenment. So Buddhism is probably one that kind of attracts me. For a while there, I was also going to, sorry, I fixed my glasses a lot, if you ever noticed that. I was going to a Universalist Unitarian congregation when I was living in another state, and I really enjoyed going to that church. Again, I don't necessarily identify as a Unitarian Universalist completely, but I did enjoy kind of the discussions and um, their kind of all-encompassing view, because I feel like that in general, I'm very accepting of others. Um, I don't have any stigmas against other people, no matter what their situation is, no matter who they are. That's not something that's ever been a question to me. I don't feel like I should have the right to judge others or feel like I'm better than them. So that's those two probably, Buddhism and Unitarian Universalist. Let's see. Question number 17. How would you introduce spirituality to children? Would you pass your book to your children? Yes, so I have a 5-year-old son, and yes, I introduce spirituality to him. Um, I do it gently because I don't want to over influence him. I want him, whether he follows my path, no path, another path, one day, I want it to come directly from his connection to the divine and not because of me. Basically, I try to teach him just to be a fair, just, truthful, and honest person, number one. Number two, how I've introduced, it's not like I tell him, well, mama is, pagan or a witch, or, I don't say that to him, although he knows directly, but by me having an altar. He has a little altar in his room. He puts his treasures on there, so it's not like a devotion altar where he sits down and meditates and that kind of a thing. That's not the case, but he does have his altar because he knows I have one and he wanted one too. And so he puts his treasures like fossils and rocks and sticks and bark. Do I think he will be pagan? I don't know exactly. I mean, who's to say? Little kids, their interests they change throughout the years. But I feel like he might be. I'll be surprised if he's not. I won't be disappointed if he's not. Um, but I'll be surprised if he doesn't, because he does things on his own. Like for example, he's very connected to the elements and just likes to be outside, and just he'll even go up to a random tree and just give it a hug. And he's very, I've tried to teach him a reverence for nature. So if he like picks a leaf off a tree, he says, "Thank you, tree," you know, "Thank you." He always says thank you to all the plants and that kind of thing. As far as any direct things that I've told him, I've gotten books on different kinds of spirituality. I've spoken to him about divinity, and how I believe the world was created, but that he'll get his choice because well, my husband is Caucasian, he's white, and then I'm Mexican, so he's both, obviously. But because I am Mexican, we celebrate El Día de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead, and that was a really great opportunity to talk about spirit and the afterlife and how things work. So he is very aware of that kind of thing. So I don't like seek out, it's not like I have religious studies for him every day. I don't. I mean, I don't have religious studies for him, but in our everyday life, almost no day goes by that something spiritual isn't talked about or discussed or influence some part of the day. I mean, there's always something that comes up, and I'm very basic about my explanation, but he understands more than I think people give kids credit for understanding, especially when they're young. But when they're young, they're so open. It's just amazing, and I almost wish like you could just recapture that openness because it's incredible how open he is. Um, so yeah, so we've talked about divinity, we've talked about the afterlife, we've talked about different gods and goddesses and their mythologies. Um, we've talked about, and he's really into science, but it's like, you have the argument, well, do you believe in science or do you believe in spirituality? In his mind, they're not a separate thing, which is how it is with me. I don't see them as two separate things. I see them as commingling, and he sees them that same way. I have gotten books on teaching children's spirituality or paganism, and I do incorporate things here and there, but again, I don't want to over influence him. So if we do activities, I try to make them very nature based. I do include some divinity or spirituality based activities as well. I've incorporated some pagan prayers as like our bedtime. So like one of the prayers to say, it says, "Day is done, it's time for bed. Goddess, bless my sleepy head. Earth and water, air and fire. Bring gentle dreams as I retire. When the morning sun does rise, the God will bless my open eyes." And so I've, don't mind my singing, but I've incorporated like pagan prayers as part of his like bedtime routine. So again, it's just everyday living. I mean, I don't think that I should have a set time. It's just like teaching him just to be a good person. It's not like you sit them down and say, well, this is how you're a good person. No, you just incorporate it slowly and gently, and we'll see where he ends up. Again, if he doesn't become pagan one day, it's not his path. And who's to say that I should tell him what his path is? But I think that he should grow up with something. Um, I grew up very Catholic, and again, my family themselves, they don't, pretty much everyone in my life, like my close friends, they all know, but my family, are a little bit more close-minded, and so I'm still very much in the broom closet to them. I remember when my son was born, my mom asked me about baptizing him, and basically I told her, we're gonna let him make his own choice. And she said something to me that was pretty terrible, and later, it caused quite a big rift. I was pretty angry, and so was my husband. Of course, later she apologized, and she said she was sorry for trying to push it on us. But I think she's kind of come to terms that it's just not going to happen, that he's going to get baptized. I mean, at least not now. If he comes to me later and says, Mom, I want to get baptized, well, then that will be his choice. But like in everything that I try to teach him, I try to give him all the facts, and then he can make an educated decision. So that's kind of my stance on that. If what I plan to do, so when I was growing up, like I said, I grew up very, very Catholic, but as I was growing up, I had a lot of friends that belonged to different churches. And again, I've never been like anti anybody else. That's just not part of who I am. So what I did was they would invite me to their churches. Well, I never thought it was bad or weird, or well, maybe I shouldn't go because I'm Catholic or whatever the case may be. I never thought that. So I would go, and some of them I liked, and some of them I really liked, and some of them I just did not like at all. But I gave myself that opportunity. And my mom, as long as it was church, she was fine. And as long as there was a parent, she was fine. So I went, and I think it really made me really decide that this was truly the path for me. So I felt like I was very well rounded. And then, of course, it didn't, it helped that I already liked learning about different spirituality. I think that's been something that I love history and studying and researching. And so I've always done that anyway. So I always had an interest in learning about something different than myself. And so um, if that would happen with my son, if he was interested in going to like a Buddhist temple or a Hindu temple, that's another one that I've been to. Hindu temples are really cool. During like their rituals, it's amazing. Even as an adult, I've gone now just because I wanted to see. I wanted to see and experience what that's like. Um, but essentially, like if he were ever to come to me and say, Mom, my friend goes to this church and he invited me, I'd go with him. I'd be like, sure, let's go. Let's go and check it out. My husband, he is very much agnostic. He's not sure of anything. He doesn't have a higher calling or anything, but he doesn't like the dogma of churches. He doesn't like that. His feeling is that when you're part of a church, they try to make it like this is the only right way, and that really bothers him. So, um, he he and I have had this discussion about how we navigate these, spiritual waters, and he's pretty much left it up to me. So he supports me doing that. So if my son ever decided he wants to go somewhere, like some of his family's Mormon, so if he wanted to go to the Mormon church, I would be like, okay, let's go check it out. Um, so that's kind of where I stand um, with that question. As far as my book, I would be lying if I said that I didn't intend to pass it on to him. Whether he uses it, I don't know. How I've written the book is as an instructional guide. And in the beginning of the book, I have a section on who I am, how I came to this path, exactly what my beliefs are, what I agree with, what I don't agree with. And then there's a section that says, this is how old I am when I start this book, and I have a son, and my intent is that he um, receives this book, but it also states that even if he doesn't use it, it's just like a history of me, a history of my life. So whether he uses it or not, he is probably going to inherit it. I would hope that somewhere down the line, someone might get use out of it, whether it's, a grandchild or my son or great grandchild or something. Um, so yes, it's being passed down, but I'm not, you have to follow this, it's not my decision and it's not my choice. And really, it's not up to me. I think that the divine will speak to him how, they want to speak to him. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with whatever he decides to do with his life. So, and I understand he'll have times where he'll be really heavy into something and then it will change and he'll move on to something else. And I sincerely hope that that happens because I want him to be well rounded. I want him to know that there are many paths up that mountain. And sorry, I'm always fixing my glasses. Yeah, so I want him to know that that's okay. And so that's kind of my stance on it. So now I'm going to do the 2016 questions, and I've got just 2 of them for that challenge. It says, do you have or how did you find your matron or patron? So I've already discussed this in other videos. Our Lady of Guadalupe is my matron goddess. I have always had a connection with her ever since I was little, very little. She came to me, as I discussed in a previous video, she came to me in dreams when I was a little girl. I would dream of her. I would also get the smell of roses that would just come out of nowhere. Like I'd be inside and all of a sudden I'd get a whiff of roses, or it'd be the middle of winter and I'd be outside and I'd get the smell of roses or something. So she presented herself to me. I mean, I always had her in my life because I'm Mexican and I grew up Catholic, but it was not just that, it was other um, occurrences. And so she came to me, and I can't say that I'm not thrilled that she did because I've always felt a very, very strong connection to her. I feel very, very, very blessed to have her. Um, I have gone through very, very dark places in my life, and you wouldn't think it to look at me. That's something that people assume that because you're a very positive person, because you're nice, maybe overly nice, that you've never experienced hardship and real hardship, the kind that most people will never experience. And I have. And um and she's always been there. And she's been my constant support. And I can hear her, I can feel her energy so clearly. It's just incredible, and I don't know what I'd do without her. Um, so I feel very, very honored and very blessed to have her. As far as a patron god, I identify with Cernunnos and with the Green Man, but I tend to work more with goddess energy than god energy, and maybe that's not okay. I mean, I could probably work more with the god energy. I have had dreams with Cernunnos coming to me in my dreams as well as an adult. Some dreams were explicit, actually. Some were just very peaceful um, dreams. So I feel like if I were to identify with a patron god, it would probably be Cernunnos and the Green Man, but Cernunnos. So, but again, I work primarily with um, the goddess feminine energy. I think that if I were like in olden times, I would have probably been like one of the priestesses for a temple. Probably never get married. I would have just been a priestess of some kind towards the goddess because I just really, really feel strong, strong feminine power. not so much with the God, but I do get it occasionally. So, next question. Do you keep a journal of your experiences? I wish I said I did. I do have one book that my husband gave me. It's a leather bound um, book with this beautiful owl on the cover. And for a long time, I was writing in it. And I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed taking the time to write down things, but I don't do it consistently enough. And I probably should because I have some really, really cool experiences, but I haven't consistently done. And why I'm smiling is because, so as you know, I showed you my Oracle deck in my video yesterday for my altar tour. And I have lots of Oracle cards, and one of them is the Archangel Gabriel, who is I'm associated to. Anyways, he's obviously is another because the Doreen Virtue decks that I have are all, besides the goddess, the fairy, the mermaid, oracle, they're all angel based because I work with angels. So he's in the she sorry she's a girl. A lot of people don't know that. Although angels, they're spiritual beings. I think they can be both, but I think she's primarily a girl. Anyways, she is in the other decks, but then I have the actual deck for the Archangel Gabriel. And what's really funny is that I get that her a lot, and it's always write your things down, and take a moment to write. It's always the same message. Write it down. And I feel like she's like banging me over the head with this, write it down. And do I still write it down? No, because I'm Taurus and I'm stubborn. I don't like to be told what to do. I like to, I think the more someone tells me to do something, the least I want to do it, just because I'm cantankerous and I am a full-blown Taurus who just, I'm stubborn, I'm pig-headed, I dig in my heels and do things on my own terms, on my own time. One of my traits, and what can I say? But I think she must have extraordinary patience because I'm kind of stubborn. But yeah, so that's one of the things. I really need to do that. And maybe I will now that maybe this is why this question is here, to kind of force me to listen and do what I'm told. Because you get your messages when you do your divination, whether it's oracle cards or your tarot, but sometimes it's hard to listen to the advice. Like sometimes you just don't want to. And the universe will beat you over the head with it until you finally listen. And yeah, so that's kind of where I am. So anyways, thank you for watching. That's my questions for the day. I'm sorry this video is so long. I don't know how to make short videos. I'm a talker. Okay? I like to talk. So I'm sorry this video is so long again, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button, and if you really liked it, hit the subscribe button for any future videos from me, and I will be back soon with another video, probably a crafting video. I feel like that's my forte. Although I like to talk, sometimes it's hard for me to come up with topics. So, if you have any suggestions for things you'd like to talk about, please put them in the comments below so that I know what to talk about. Because sometimes I don't know what to talk about because there's so much has already been said on YouTube by other amazing YouTubers. So if you have an idea, suggestion, something you'd like to see, let me know, and I will try to do my best to accommodate. So have a wonderful day. Enjoy your day. Today is a beautiful sunshiny day here, which I'm really excited because I'm going to enjoy it. They say it's supposed to snow sometime this week, and I am so over snow. So I'm going to go outside today and enjoy the sunshine before the snow hits. But thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.